Yo! Oh, okay. I guess I'm going to be interrupted. This is Jay Dennis here with a Talking Thrash very special edition where I'm going to talk about the Big Four's first releases, which, as you can see from this beautiful slideshow and this little collage that I've made here with a lot, like it took me a bachelor's degree in graphic design to be able to create this. You'll notice that all four of these albums, all right, so let's take a look. We got Anthrax's Fistful of Metal, Slayer's Show No Mercy, Megadeth's Killing Is My Business, and Business Is Good, and Metallica, Kill 'Em All. What do all these albums have in common? You know, aside from the fact that they were all released in the early to mid 80s, 1983 through 85. They're all black and red. Yeah. And they really... Oh, and they're all in standard tuning. Yeah, even though not all those bands would go on to maintain those tunings. But, yeah, they're all in black and red, so that color scheme's pretty big. But what else? Seems like Metallica and Megadeth like, killing. And then when it comes to killing, Slayer comes in and wants to show no mercy. And if that wasn't enough, Anthrax is going to come through and finish you off with a fistful of metal. So, what am I going to do on this clip, on this YouTube video? I'm going to try to release a new YouTube video at least once a week here now. I'm going to try. I'm going to work. See, I'm already trying to improve my language. I just said try again. I'm working to improve my language so that I can work to do at least one YouTube video a week. All right. If you want to listen to more of this, mumbling and rambling and bumbling and beautiful poetic nonsense, make sure you check out my podcast. It's on the podcast playlist on the Jay Dennis channel, which is the channel you're currently on now watching this video. And this Talking Thrash series is one that I just recently started. It's a extra branch off of my Talking New Metal and just talking music in general stuff. And the first video was Megadeth's Warheads on Foreheads album, so make sure you go check that out. All right, on to this. So this video, I'm going to be ranking these four albums, and I'm going to be sharing with you what I thought of each of them, and kind of give you the pros and cons and the best tracks out of all of them. And I'm going to do it in a concise and succinct fashion. All right, so before I rank them, let's go over all of them. Let's start off with the small boys first. Let's start with Anthrax. All right, Fistful of Metal. All right, so I just recently got back into Anthrax. I haven't listened to them since I was probably 14. I'm going to be 28 here shortly. So half a lifetime ago, mainly listening to Among the Living tracks. And, around the turn of the century, of course, I was all about Bring the Noise on Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 during the new metal boom. So Anthrax didn't really have a lot of experience with them, but I went back to listening to them. I decided to give Spreading the Disease a chance. That's a fantastic album. But I was like, you know what? Let's listen to Fistful of Metal. And it's a solid album. Like the good news about all four of these albums that I'm going to be talking about is they are all excellent. Like, the Big Four did not start off weak at all. They all had a strong start. But as for Anthrax's Fistful of Metal, basically the first four tracks hit you like super hard. Overall, there's 10 tracks. It's a 36-minute album. This came out in 1984. But most of the strong work came out in the front of the album. So out of 10 tracks, the first four are hard. Then you got a couple of filler tracks like tracks 5 and 6. And then Death from Above, which is a longer track, is pretty damn solid. The track that the band is named after, Anthrax, is really good. And Across the River is a very good instrumental that Anthrax did. It's like a minute long. And, Howling Furies is a pretty, it's good enough for an ending. But all in all, gave the album an 8 out of 10. My favorite tracks were Metal Thrashing Mad. God dang, if his vocals aren't freaking howling in that song. Like, his I don't know I forgot his name, but the singer, holy shit, that guy can vocalize, and he really demonstrates that in Metal Thrashing Mad. And then I'm 18, which is actually a cover of an Alice Cooper song. I was disappointed to find out that that wasn't an Anthrax track. It's a very good cover. And then if you listen to Panic, the overall feel of the song, like the guitar work, the harmonies, it's very reminiscent of Iron Maiden. So Panic, Metal Thrashing Mad, and I'm 18. Love those tracks. The pro of this album is it's got excellent tone for a first album, and just it really showcases the overall band talent. The weaknesses of the album is there's not enough high points. Most of the high points were front loaded into the first half of the album. So again, overall the album gets an 8 out of 10. Strong start for Anthrax though. All right, Slayer, Show No Mercy, came out in 1983. 10 tracks, 35 minutes long, just around the same as previous album I talked about. The album starts off pretty damn strong with Evil Has No Boundaries. Overall the first couple tracks are pretty damn solid. You get to the song Metal Storm, which I forgot the second half of that song title, but the intro sounds like Creeping Death from Metallica, but Creeping Death came out years later, so who copied who with that what's it called? That octave riff, da 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 dun dun dun, power chords in the E. But yeah, Metal Storm. Overall, my favorite tracks from Show No Mercy are Antichrist, Metal Storm, and Cryonics. My old friend made me a mix CD with pretty much the big four, and the only song he put from this album on there was Cryonics. And if you had to choose any song, that was the one to do. So to this day, I still love Cryonics. What do these first two albums have in common so far? They have kind of punkish influences too. So you kind of picture skateboarding music, and it's thrash metal, but it's also got a little bit of punk influence in there too. I think Slayer's Show No Mercy album started and maybe ended a little stronger. So overall, I gave that album an 8.5 out of 10. The pros being it's a more polished Slayer sound, and it kind of overall showcases the band talent, just like Anthrax's did. My only complaint with Show No Mercy, because it's a very consistent album, I don't think there were really any filler tracks on there. The only cons were it kind of just lacks that evil sound that you find in later Slayer albums, but it's still pretty damn good. Tom Arroyo really comes out hard on this album. And fun fact, Tom Arroyo is my favorite vocalist of the four in the big four. But on to the next one. Megadeth, Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. All right, this album came out in 1985. It's including the cover song, it's got 8 tracks, and it's 33 minutes. So of the 4, it's the shortest. You've heard me guys talk about Megadeth a shit ton on my podcast, so I'm not going to go too deep into this album, but basically the pro of this album is there's something about Megadeth. They have an extremely unique style that can't be replicated, and it's addicting. The musicality can't be fucked with. Dave Mustaine is a virtuoso. Even if he wanted to try to write another Killing Is My Business album, I don't know if he could, because there's just something very special about the raw yet powerful, fast, and at times heavily slow guitar work that is Killing Is My Business. So again, just excellently unique writing from Dave Mustaine on the guitar, and then everything else just sounds pretty damn good and catchy. The only complaint that I have about the album is it's short. It's 8 songs, including the title track, which, these boots, that title track, it's good. And my other con was just kind of the production. Of all 4 of these big 4 albums, Megadeth's is probably the lowest quality, but it kind of adds a little bit of charm to the album. And even though the guitars sound a little too neck sounding rather than bridge sounding, you'll have to look up what that means. There's still a certain grit to it, but even the remastered version that they put out last year in 2018 came out a little better. But I've always been curious to see what this album would sound like if it was remixed and remastered, or even maybe re-recorded. Favorite tracks off of that album are the title track, Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. Skull Beneath the Skin, like just listen to the guitar work and some of the intros of some of these songs. Like they're extremely unique. Like along with Looking Down the Cross, you just can't fuck with that style. And again, it's kind of messy and a little raw, but it's also it works. So I give that album an 8.5 out of 10. In terms of Megadeth's 15 albums, that one's probably going to be towards the middle, towards the top, like the middle top area, maybe like in the top 5 or 6. That'll be another video though. And last but certainly not least, Metallica's Kill 'Em All. Came out in 1983, 10 songs, 50 minutes long. This is the album I'm the most familiar with. I've been listening to this one the longest. So, all these other albums, except for Killing Is My Business, Fistful of Metal and Show No Mercy, I got into like in the last month. And then Killing Is My Business, Megadeth, it's been pretty much the past year. I've been really into them. Metallica, though, I've been very familiar with Kill 'Em All for the past 14-odd years, like the whole album. The pros of the album are, you got fucking Cliff Burton, the best bass player in thrash metal, rest in peace. It's got the most material, and up front, Metallica really shows how excellent they are at songwriting, composition, arrangement. The way the songs are structured, they flow beautifully and they don't sound generic. Not saying the other guys sound super generic, but I'm just saying Metallica kind of, the way Megadeth kind of set themselves apart with their own particular style and guitar writing, Metallica did this with their arrangements and their ability to write these long yet not dragged out styles of music, songs. And the weakness of Kill 'Em All would be, it's not James Hetfield's strongest album vocally, which, a lot of vocalists don't find their stride in their first album. It's usually, you'd probably say around Master of Puppets or Justice for All, James Hetfield is at like his peak in terms of like the thrash sound. But then, around Black Album, he starts singing more, which is cool. I gave Kill 'Em All an 8.5 out of 10. Top tracks are Hit the Lights, all those damn guitar solos. Phantom Lord, love that track. I've always loved that song. And then No Remorse. So, you'll notice, let's review. Anthrax's Fistful of Metal, 8 out of 10. And then Slayer, Megadeth, and Metallica, all theirs got 8.5 out of 10. So how the fuck do I rank those when 3 of them are essentially tied? I could have done like an 8.8 or an 8.7, but I just go by 0.5s. But before I get to my ranking, I just want to say I'm kind of pissed because I really did not want this ranking to follow the typical thrash metal formula where the out of the big 4, the 2 big ones are Metallica and Megadeth, even though Metallica is commercially the largest. And then the 2 throwaways are typically Slayer and Anthrax, where most fans will want to substitute one of those bands for one of their other favorite bands. Like, well, fuck Slayer, let's replace them with Testament, or, Anthrax. Those guys are a bunch of, jokes. Let's replace them with Exodus. It's the same thing in the new metal scene. They got their own big 4 or big 5 or whatever, and on some level it's subjective, but you just got to look at the commercial and success and who had the largest impact. But one more fun fact before I get to my ranking. While we're talking about Megadeth, we can't talk about Megadeth without talking about Dave Mustaine. Did you know that Dave Mustaine not only wrote every single Megadeth album, but he also wrote Kill 'Em All, he also wrote Anthrax's Fistful of Metal, and Slayer's Show No Mercy. And if you didn't think that was enough, Mr. Dave Mustaine, with his metal cruise ship and his fiery long hair that's never been cut, he came out of the womb with that long orange hair. This man has written every single track in every single one of these bands' discography from start to finish, and he actually did all the vocals too. He's just really good at disguising and, modulating his voice at his own free will. And obviously there was some cognitive dissonance by him being in Slayer with all of their satanic music, while Dave Mustaine himself is a Christian, but somehow he managed to modulate and emulate the Lord and be able to fight the devil in the Slayer music and be able to sing it. So if anything, we're just ranking Dave Mustaine here, praise Dave, this guy's a god. That being said, here's the ranking from worst to best. First, we got Anthrax's Fistful of Metal. Then we have Slayer's Show No Mercy. Then we have Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. And then we have Kill 'Em All. I did not think that Anthrax would be last, and I did not think Metallica would be first. But I listened to all these albums in pretty strong depth, and that's what I came to. Oh shit, am I going to be able to upload this recording? It's 15 minutes long. Shit. But yeah, basically, Anthrax. When I was listening to the first 4 albums, I thought that this was going to be the best album out of all 4 of them. And then as much as I love Slayer, as consistent as Show No Mercy was, it didn't have some of the flair that Killing Is My Business or Kill 'Em All had. And if Killing Is My Business was just maybe a little bit longer, it would have had that edge. But because Metallica had simply a larger volume of quality music, that's what gave them the slight edge over Megadeth. Because out of all 4 of those bands, obviously Megadeth is my favorite. And, you know, I just typically don't like to follow the trend of what is kind of commonplace, where Anthrax is kind of the smallest band of the big 4, so therefore they're my least favorite. That's not why they're my least favorite, but they just happen to be that, because they've just been kind of inconsistent. But as it stands, Megadeth and Slayer are my favorite of the big 4. I thought they were the most consistent, the most, pretty damn good over the years. But obviously Metallica and Anthrax have a special place in my heart, especially Metallica. They are the bedrock of my thrash metal love. But I won't just be talking about the big 4. I'll probably be talking about other bands that I like too, like Testament or Exodus or Sepultura. But thank you guys for listening. That was my big 4 ranking of each of their first releases. Again, worst to best: Anthrax, Slayer, Megadeth, Metallica. You'll see some different rankings for other subjects probably. All right, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. Like the video, and leave your own rankings down in their comments. Okay, bye.